I'm doing another live stream, so I'm going to wait for people to show up. So for everybody who's watching the playback, of course, make sure to hit subscribe with the bell with the parentheses so you're notified every time I go live. With these live streams, I do put out new videos every single week on this channel, and you're definitely not going to be notified if you aren't subscribed. So let's see. Oh, thank God. Somebody is here. It's showing that somebody has shown up. So anyway, I'm going to wait until a couple more people are here, but I wanted to talk to you all about what to do if you are forced to participate in pagan holidays because, well, what is today? Saturday. So this coming Thursday is Thanksgiving here in the United States. And in the past, I have done videos talking about the pagan origins of these festivals. So we've done Thanksgiving, we've done Christmas. Those are like the two. Oh, we've done Halloween. So you also know that we don't do Easter on this channel. We do Passover. But I don't know why it says message retracted on certain ones. I don't know why. I'm guessing YouTube is like manually moderating the live stream. I don't know. So anyway, you all know on this channel we celebrate the biblical holidays, not the like Western canon of holidays that are all like linked back to a lot of like Germanic paganism. A lot of them also like have roots in like Roman mythology, which Thanksgiving has a big part in like Roman paganism. So anyway, you all know on this channel that we do the biblical holidays, but you're not required to celebrate them because it's a choice. It's a choice that you get to make. So we're never allowed to partake in pagan festivals. And we get to choose if we want to take part in the new moons, the Sabbaths, and the like biblical festivals that all point to Jesus, right? So anyway, one of the issues when it comes to like the biblical feast days is that so many people want to learn more about the biblical feast days and then they inadvertently end up falling into Hebrew roots, which is a cult. It is called like the Hebrew Roots movement. A lot of people will call themselves like Torah observant Christians. No, they've just fallen into like a legalistic cult, and that's why I've kind of like shied away from talking more about the biblical feast days, only because there's like so much going on in the world right now, and so many people can't handle that, along with trying to discern who is like in a Hebrew roots cult on top of like everything else that's been going on for like the past 2 years, right? So it's just like we have to get through all of this stuff before we can even continue on with that. So anyway, today I was scrolling through Twitter. You guys can obviously tell I'm in a hotel room because my husband is running yet another marathon today. And so I'm just chilling here at home. So I'm scrolling through Twitter, and if you don't follow me on Twitter, you should, because that's where I talk about like literally everything, not just like crack your Bible stuff. So anyway, I'm scrolling through Twitter and I find this tweet from a historical account that I follow, and they were talking about Hannibal. So I don't know if you guys are aware of who Hannibal is. He was a general during the Second Punic Wars, and he was from Carthage, which is like modern day Tunisia, which is in North Africa. So anyway, he was a general, a statesman, and when he was 9 years old, his father took him to a pagan temple, and I have the tweet like linked down in the description box. Took him to a pagan temple and made him swear an oath, a sacred oath, that he would never be a friend to the Romans. Now, he was 9 years old, and he's being taken into a pagan temple to swear a solemn oath. So, I don't know about you all, but 9-year-olds do not have the capacity to enter into what is basically a legal contract, right? But with a supernatural deity, because you are swearing like a solemn oath before this supernatural deity, right? We know that if it's in a pagan temple, these people are swearing an oath to a demon. But regardless, a 9-year-old does not have the legal capacity to make that sort of declaration. And if a parent is forcing you to make this declaration, it's under duress, right? So, somebody said happy Saturn's Day. Today is the Sabbath day, not Saturn's Day. So, anyway, y'all know that if you are forcing somebody to promise something, if you're forcing them under the threat of violence, or you're going to punish them, or whatever, you're going to do something bad to them, you're going to financially hurt them, that is coercion, and that makes your contract pretty much like invalid. So, like, having 9-year-old Hannibal swear this solemn oath, I mean, he's forced to do this by his dad. So, is this like a legally binding oath like an adult would make? No. So, this all gets me into thinking about a lot of questions that I've been receiving on a lot of my older videos. So, I'll be notified when people like leave a comment on an older video. And I'm seeing that a lot of people have been asking me on these older videos about what to do if you're forced to celebrate pagan holidays by your family. Yeah, mainly it's by your family or your spouse, which is still your family. Some people are forced to partake in like holiday festivals, I guess, at their work, like they're required to be there because they happen during work hours. So that's a little bit what I wanted to talk about since we have Thanksgiving coming up. And I just want to know, like, how many of you guys are in a position where you're forced, like under duress, you're being coerced into celebrating a pagan festival. I'm not talking about you're an adult and you just don't want to rock the boat. I'm not talking about, oh, I'm an adult and I just don't want to have an uncomfortable conversation because I'm a non-confrontational person. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like, how many of you guys are young people who are forced into participating in a celebration that you don't want to partake in. Like, I know that there are people who are teenagers, some people are kids who, for whatever reason, watch this channel, like they've found this channel. Like, how many of you out there have dealt with this? Or if you're an adult, how many of you had to go through this when you were a minor? So, I don't know why I'm sounding hoarse all of a sudden. So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to touch on because, as an adult, I get these questions from other adults and they're like, well, my husband wants to celebrate. What do I do? Well, you guys are married. So as the other adult in the relationship, if you have kids, it's your obligation to stand up and say, hey, I'm not partaking in this. I'm not going to cook. I'm not going to help decorate. I'm not going to pull out the tree. I'm not going to buy gifts. I'm not going to set the table. No, I'm going to go do my own thing. I'm not going to participate. And for some reason, there's a lot of women that feel like they're obligated to do whatever their husband wants them to do when it comes to partaking in pagan celebrations. But in no place in the Bible are women like slaves to their husband, where if their husband says you must partake in this pagan festival, that they're just required to go along with it. You're an adult. You are not a slave to your spouse. And when it comes to matters of, are they forcing you to engage in sin? This is when you stop and you step up and you say, no, I'm not going to do this. Are they trying to force you to hurt other people? Like, are they trying to tell you to like murder other people, worship demons, or engage in sexual sin? No. Okay, well then, of course, you're going to give deference to this person. But otherwise, if they're trying to have you engage in sexual sin, worship demons, or commit murder, of course you're not going to be doing these things. So as an adult, it's your job, it's your obligation, especially if you're a woman, to say, no, I'm not going to do this. And no, we're not doing this with the kids either. Because it is what it is. Women tend to be the ones that do a lot of the legwork for these holidays. And as the mom, as the wife, it's your job to just step up and say, hey, I'm not going to do this. Now, if you're the man and your wife's wanting to celebrate it, again, it's your obligation as the husband, as the father, to step in and say, hey, I'm putting my foot down. We're not going to do this year. We're just not going to do it. We're not going to send out cards. We're not going to have people over. We're not going to be doing this, because if I'm running this household, if I have the final say, we're not going to bow down and dine at the table of demons. We're not going to participate in this kind of stuff. But it's different when you are a minor, when you are a child and you are living in your parents' household. Now, should people be considered minors when they're 17 and a half years old? That's like a totally different conversation, which we don't need to get into on this video. But in this country, in the United States, like as long as you're not 18, you are still a minor and you are under your parents' authority. And depending on what your age is, you might not be allowed to move out of the house. You might not even be legally allowed to like have a job. You might not be allowed to drive a vehicle. So you have no other way to get away from celebrating pagan festivals, right? Because you live in your parents' household. So one of the things you have to remember is that God knows everything that's going on, and he sees what your parents are doing to you. And if they're Christians, especially, he's going to hold them accountable for what they're doing to you. Because while I don't have a Bible with me, we have to remember that our parents are fallen human beings just like everybody else, right? Now, of course, there are bad parents out there that want to just be mean because they hate their lives. They want somebody to like lord over. They want to be in charge, and they're just like controlling crazy people, right? But a lot of people who are parents, again, they're just fallen people. They make bad decisions. They make bad choices because there's no manual on being a parent, right? So I'm going to give your parents the benefit of the doubt. And let's say that your parents are Christian and that they earnestly believe that these holidays are about like giving thanks to God or celebrating the birth of Jesus, or, it's really about the resurrection of. Let's, for a minute, just give your parents the benefit of the doubt. And they honestly, truly believe that these pagan festivals are actually honoring God. And they're forcing you, who knows better, you the minor who knows better that these are pagan celebrations, they're forcing you to participate in them. They're saying, like, you have to come to dinner, you have to help cook, you have to help set up the tree, you have to wrap presents, you have to, whatever, have to go hide the Easter eggs, you have to give out candy on Halloween to whoever knocks on the door, you have to take your sibling out to go trick or treat, whatever it is that they're forcing you to do. Let's say they earnestly believe somehow in their heart of hearts that they're truly doing the right thing and that these celebrations are honoring Jesus somehow. We have to remember what 1 Corinthians 8:12 says. And if you're old enough to have these kind of conversations with your parents, I would try to share that with them. Now, what does 1 Corinthians 8:12 talk about? Again, I don't have a Bible here with me because I'm in a hotel room and they never put Bibles in hotel rooms anymore. But what it says is that, let's say you truly believe that what you're doing is honoring God, and there is a weaker brother in the faith who believes that what you're doing, and in this case it was eating food that was sacrificed to idols that was sold in the marketplace, is still honoring demons. If you force this person into partaking of, in this case it was meat sacrificed to idols and then resold in the marketplace, by making a person violate their conscience, you are sinning against Christ Jesus himself. So by your parents forcing you, because you are a minor, to partake in these festivals that they themselves don't think are wrong. This is if they don't think that they're wrong, like truly in their heart of hearts, they don't think it's wrong. They're sinning against Christ. This is wrong. It is a sin to make people violate their conscience. But let's remember that celebrating these pagan festivals, this is not something allowed in the Bible. But again, we're giving your parents the benefit of the doubt. So if your parents know that it's wrong and they're still forcing you to partake in these, Jesus is going to take care of it. Because not only are they making you violate your conscience, when they know something is wrong and they do it anyways, that's sin. Just right off the bat, that's sin. And then forcing their children to partake in it is like extra sinful. So we have to remember that God is a just God and God sees everything that's going on. And as a minor, you don't have the ability to live on your own. You don't have an ability to say, hey, mom and dad, like, peace out, I'm leaving, when you're a minor. So you're forced, you are being coerced into partaking in these festivals, whether it's a threat of physical violence against you, emotional or psychological abuse where they call you like stupid or they call you other names because you're not partaking in this. Maybe they call you legalistic, or maybe they try to ground you, whatever, trying to limit your freedom because you say, hey, I don't want to do this. You need to realize that God understands what's going on. He knows your parents' hearts and why they're doing this and what they're doing. And he knows like if they really know what they're doing is wrong or not. And he's judging this accordingly. And he's not going to hold it against you. If you are a minor, this is if you are a minor, and your parents are making you, coercing you, putting you into a position of duress where you are forced to partake in these pagan celebrations. So I don't want you to freak out and think like, oh my God, God's going to hold this against me because, you know, I'm partaking in this festival where I'm dining at the table of demons. You know, now I'm not going to be able to dine at the table of the Lord with God because here I am partaking in this pagan festival, but it's against my will. I want you to understand God knows what's going on, and it's no different than the people in the New Testament and the Old Testament who were slaves. We have to remember that in the Roman Empire during the whole New Testament period, most of the empire was made up of slaves, and many Christians themselves were slaves. And this was a pagan empire. The Roman Empire was pagan. They worshipped a pantheon of pagan deities. And there would be household gods. And, you know, slaves, some of them who were Christian, would have to prepare food for these pagan festivals. They would have to partake in serving people at these pagan festivals. They might have to perform at these pagan festivals. You know, these people weren't just like house servants. Some of these people were sexual slaves as well in Rome, in the Roman Empire. And we have to realize, like, when you're a slave, you have no rights. You don't get to say no. You don't get to say, you know, that violates my conscience. I'm not going to do that. And a lot of Christians in the Roman Empire were forced to participate in pagan festivals. Some of them were forced to partake in sexual exploits that they would not have chosen to do of their own volition. They were forced to because they were slaves. And it's no different than forcing a child who doesn't have any other recourse to partake in something that they don't want to do. God understands your situation. He knows what's going on. And if you're a minor, if somehow you're a slave, like a literal slave, you know, God knows the difference, and he's not going to hold it against you when you partake in things that you don't want to do, but you're being forced to do. It is a completely other story if you are an adult and you just aren't, you just don't want to have an uncomfortable conversation. It's a whole nother story if you say, you know, I just don't want to rock the boat. I don't want people to be mad at me. Like, you have to have a spine. it doesn't apply to you if you're just being a coward, okay? We're talking about minors, and we're talking about people who are like literal physical slaves to another person. And we don't get to misapply kind of the leeway that God gives a child or a minor or a physical slave that we would do like a free adult, okay? So as adults, as parents, as adult children, as spouses, we have to put our foot down and say, hey, you know what? I do have that freedom to tell you no. I do have the freedom to say, hey, I'm not going to partake in this. No, I'm not going to allow my kids to dine at the table of demons. And I don't care if it upsets mom, dad, grandma, mother-in-law, father-in-law, whatever, best friend. Who cares? Because as an adult, I have the obligation to step in and protect not only myself, but my kids, my family, my spouse, whatever, from opening up these basically doorways to allow demons into our life. You can't just swing open the door and think like nothing's going to happen to your family when you partake in these pagan celebrations. And we already know it doesn't matter, like, God knows my heart. Yeah, the heart is deceptively wicked. Who can understand it? As the prophet Jeremiah says, it's not about what it means to me, it's what it means to God. And God has already told us, do not worship me in those ways. We don't get to repurpose paganism and say, well, I'm partaking in this pagan festival that the whole world partakes in, but I'm actually doing it to honor Jesus. No. God knows what's up. God knows what's going on, and he's already told us, the adults, that we don't get to partake in those things. So if you are an adult and you know this is wrong, and maybe you have a niece, a nephew, whatever, a young child in your life, and they know what's up, and their parent is forcing them to partake in this, you need to step in and be their advocate. You need to be the one that's intercessing for this kid, because clearly the adults in their life don't care. You have to be the adult and stand up and say, hey, I need to share this with you because actually your kid is right. And, as the parent, they can take it or they can leave it, but there needs to be more adults standing up for the young people that God has placed them in their lives. So if you're some sort of adult authority figure, maybe you're a teacher, you can be the one that stands up and say, hey, you know what? Not everybody celebrates Christmas or Thanksgiving or Halloween, and we need to make sure that we're not forcing children into celebrating these holidays. And do whatever you can to make sure like your workplace isn't forcing kids to participate. Maybe you work at a church. You need to be the adult and stand up for these kids because they don't have a voice. They don't have the ability to stand up and say, hey, I don't want to partake in this kind of stuff. That's our job. We have to live a life of service to others. And the people that we're serving might be children that don't have any other way to stand up for the truth of the gospel. They need an adult to come in and help them stand up against other adults who are forcing them to dine at the table of demons. If you're a parent, you have to stand up to your spouse, your in-laws, your own parents, and say, hey, as the adult, we're not doing this year. We're not doing it any year. If y'all want to partake in biblical festivals with us, that's cool. If not, like, sorry, like, we're just not going to do it, because we have to love Jesus more than we love our family. We have to worship God in spirit and in truth. And Jesus already tells us that anybody who loves their mother, their father, their son or daughter more than they love him, then you're not worthy of Jesus. So that's why it's so important that we're not putting the feelings of the adults, the authority figures in our lives over Jesus, because at the end of the day, we have to worship Jesus in spirit and in truth. And if you're in a position where you are a minor, where you are under duress, maybe you're a slave, I don't know. That's a different story. God understands. He's not going to hold it against you. But as an adult, if you see this stuff is going on and you say nothing, you are condoning it. You are allowing this to go on, and Jesus will hold this kind of stuff against you. So anyway, somebody said, what do you say to those that want to send presents? So I would say, please don't. Please respect our wishes. If you want to give us a gift any other time of the year, that's fine. We appreciate it, but we would prefer that you respect our wishes, that we aren't going to participate in this kind of stuff. So I know that can come across as a little rude, but at the same time, like, somebody's probably going to be offended. Now, for example, so my in-laws are pretty cool. So they are from Taiwan, and like less than 5% of Taiwan is Christian. And that's not like really a holiday that they celebrate there. I guess it's becoming more of a holiday. And when I first got with my husband, what did we do? I've never put up a tree or anything like that since I've been with my husband, but they wanted to give my siblings gifts because two of my siblings are still minors right now. So they were really little when I got with my husband. And, I gave my mother-in-law my siblings' address, but I was like, I just want to let you all know, like, they don't celebrate it. Like, I can't force you to not give somebody a gift, but like, they knew. And I think in subsequent years, my husband talked with my in-laws, and it was like, it's not that the gifts aren't appreciated or that we don't like you or anything like that, but we really don't celebrate these holidays. So my in-laws, like, they don't get us or my siblings anything for like the holidays. So again, I'm not going to force you into not giving a gift. I'm not going to like throw it away, or I'm not going to be like, no, I absolutely refuse. But I will have that conversation and be like, hey, I appreciate the thought. Thank you for thinking of me. I understand that you want to show us your love by giving a gift, but we don't celebrate. Don't feel obligated to get us anything. And if they still decide to give you a gift, I mean, you can accept it, and just continue to let them know, like, I appreciate the gift, but please, like, no more gifts for the holidays because we don't celebrate them. But any other time, I'd love to, take you out and get you a gift, or if you want to, bless us with a gift, we're fine with that. But I would just appreciate it if you respect that we don't celebrate these holidays. So again, it's an uncomfortable conversation to have, or at least it can be if you have family that's not understanding. Thank you, Jesus. My in-laws are very understanding despite not being Christian. So if you all want to pray for my family, I would appreciate that. But a lot of the things that you guys are going through, I've had to deal with because, growing up, my family did celebrate Christmas. Actually, 100% of my extended family celebrates the pagan holidays. I don't know really what's going on with my parents. I know that they are going back to celebrating Thanksgiving this year, even though they know that they shouldn't. And my little sister, she's 15, and she's dealing with the same thing that we're talking about right now. Like, I don't want to participate in this stuff, but I'm being forced to help cook. I'm not going over to their house for Thanksgiving, but the rest of my family is. So, like, y'all think it's easy? I understand. I know, because I've been there. It's tough, but at the same time, you got to care more about Jesus than you care about everybody else's feelings, because in the end, Jesus is the one that's going to stick closer than a brother. Jesus is the one that's going to be by you through the fire. The rest of these people, they will not. So you might have a really cool family. You might have a really chill family that's like, you guys are like this. Not everybody's like that, but regardless, Jesus is going to be the one that sticks with you. So you might as well do what he says, because he's going to be there with you through the end. So anyway, you guys, I know what you guys are going through because I've been there. I'm still going through it. And it's a struggle, but that's just part of being a Christian. Like, navigating all of these weird, uncomfortable social issues because there is no guidebook on it. There's no like, here's how to deal with parents or family members or in-laws who celebrate holidays that you think are pagan, right? They are pagan. I don't think that I know that. But yeah, it can be tough. But in the end, like, you're doing the right thing. I know it can be tough. I know it can be uncomfortable. My husband, he says that he doesn't mind that we don't celebrate, any of the holidays anymore. But he says, like, it gets uncomfortable for him when he's at work when people are like, oh, what are you doing for Christmas? Whereas for me, I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. I'll just be straight up with people and be like, hey, I don't celebrate Christmas. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing nothing. So, I get it. I totally get it. You are not alone in this. I don't want you to feel like you're alone. But at the same time, if you're a minor, if you are in some weird situation where you're being coerced, where you're under duress into celebrating these holidays, do not feel afraid that God is going to hold this against you, because he sees everything and he is a righteous judge and he has new mercies every day. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. I hope you will like, subscribe, and share. Have a wonderful week. Love you lots. Bye.